I finally replaced the Z Fold 5 as my main foldable, and in this video I'm going to give you my first impressions of its predecessor. Well, stick around, especially at the end. There's some things you're going to want to hear. So as a reviewer, I knew that I was always at some point going to try out another foldable and give you a review on it. But I tell you, the biggest issue that I've always had with the Z Fold 5 is this front screen. As you know, the front screen is rather thin, especially when you compare it to a bar phone. It's ridiculous how small it is. And then when you go to try to type something on it, it's too narrow, especially for my fat little fingers. They're always tripping over each other, and I have too many typos to really speak of. And I know some of you are thinking, well, why don't you just do the text to speech? Because sometimes, and a lot of times, I'm in a place where I cannot speak out loud, and I really need to just type it out. And a larger front screen makes that quite a bit better. Now, real quick, some of the things I do love about the Z Fold 5, of course, is the inner screen. I love the fact that it has the AI built in, and it currently has the fastest chip in a foldable today, being the Snapdragon Gen 2. However, it's not the only foldable with a Snapdragon Gen 2. Introducing my new foldable right here. If you haven't guessed it already, yes, it is a OnePlus Open, and this is a great phone. This thing not only does it have the Snapdragon Gen 2, it actually has a larger screen, as you see here, than the Z Fold 5. So when you open it up, it's wider, similar to the Pixel Fold, which is why a lot of people like it. However, not quite as wide and bulky as a Pixel Fold. This has also got a better screen on the outside. And what I really love the feature on this thing is when you fold it, you can just swipe up to get the screen back. On the Z Fold 5, when I close it, the screen goes off. I have to reset to get the screen back on. So, and you don't always get this thing to work on the biometrics, which is very agonizing right now on screen because it will not sound. Now it says I have to wait another 10 seconds before I can use it. So I'm going to have to actually just sign in with my passcode, which is quite an annoying thing that I've had to experience with the Z Fold 5. Having this for a couple days, I haven't had that issue. Very similar to the Z Fold 5, it has the fingerprint sensor on the side, and it hasn't given me as much a problem. So let's get back to look at the screen. As you can see, the screen's a bit wider than the Z Fold 5. Not a whole lot, but it's enough to make the big difference. What do I mean by the big difference? Well, on a daily basis, you know, you're always getting text messages. I'm getting emails with the work I do. So I'm always pulling out my phone to check on them. And with the Z Fold 5 and that smaller outer screen, more often than not, I have to open it if I'm going to respond. And if you're in a meeting or something and you open this big old screen, it's a lot more distracting than just pulling out your bar phone and typing. And with the OnePlus Open, it does make it a lot easier to text because you've got the wider screen. Now, some of the things I found out on my first impression is this thing has 16 gigabytes of RAM versus 12 on the Z Fold 5. It is a lot faster, responds a lot faster. It just seems like a newer phone than the Z Fold 5. And they both actually are released around the same time. This is a good moment to answer that question. Why didn't you get it from the beginning when it came out, Mark? Well, if you watch my channel at all, you know I don't like paying full price for these phones. I would prefer to wait, and that's exactly what I did. I waited the 6 months I needed to get this price drop, so I got this thing at half the cost new. And I bought it off of eBay on their program where they renew the devices. This thing was advertised as excellent condition, and it is. Not a single scratch, nick, or anything. It came in perfect, like new condition, and I see no issues with it. I haven't had any issues with it. It performs really, really well. Now, to be honest, I'm still getting used to the new UI, but I'm also liking it, especially when it comes to multitasking. This thing is a master of multitasking. Now, I'll go into details on that in another video, and I'll compare the two. Now, if you want to see that video and you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time. Go down there and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the comparison between the Z Fold 5 and the OnePlus Open. I'm not a game player or do all that stuff the young people do. However, I do use this in a practical way and do a lot of multitasking. So check out that video to get a lot of fine tips and tricks and great information on the comparison. So more on the first impression. You know, I really like the look and feel of this phone. I'll tell you, this big old camera on the back, there's a huge difference. And for a while, I was concerned that it was going to be a problem. And it hasn't really been a problem. It fits right there where your finger is and lands. Now, of course, I've always wondered about cases because I've always put cases on these things. This thing's mighty big, but you know what? It's lighter than the Z Fold 5 to begin with. And I really don't like putting cases on it. I did buy a minimalist case for this thing, took it off right away because I just didn't like the feel. This thing's got this simulated leather on the back, so it's not really slick, so that's kind of nice. And it's not a fingerprint magnet, but neither is the Z Fold 5, you see, because it's got that matte finish on the back. But with this look, it's just kind of a new, classier look to me. Being honest, I do wish the camera housing and everything was a little bit smaller, but hey, can you get everything in a smartphone that you want? Not really. You have to pick and choose and fight the battles that you think are worth fighting. Now, this is not only the lightest, it's also the thinnest. And what I mean by that is just the phone itself. If you include this camera hump, well, not so much, because it's quite big and makes this thing really rattle when you set it down. But the difference is, if you're using it with it closed, it's really solid, where the Z Fold 5 is not. So there is some pluses to the big camera hump. Now, will I go on using this during that trial period? I think so. My first impression says I'm going to really like this thing. Now, some of the things that I might be missing is the AI features that you find on the Samsung or even the Pixel Fold. However, if you like the photo editing, the Magic Eraser, the Magic Editor, is available on the OnePlus Open in certain areas. I have not gotten it yet. Beyond Magic Eraser, I want the Magic Editor. So hopefully in time, I will get it, because I know some people do have it in the United States. And if you're out there and you're a OnePlus user and you have Magic Editor on your OnePlus Open and you know how I could get it, let me know. I'd appreciate it. Put it down in the comments. Other than that AI, there's not a whole lot I'm missing from the Z Fold 5, even down to this mute and silence switch. I really enjoy that. That's so easy to do. Where on the Z Fold 5, you have to go in, you have to open it up, look at the software. It's crazy. This is really nice. Just a flip of a switch, you go to a meeting, your phone is silenced. I really do enjoy the large screen and its form factor, where you can open it up and watch a video here on it just in portrait mode. You've got the larger video. And if you want to turn it to landscape mode, it gets a little bit larger, not a whole lot, but you do have the options. We'll get into more comparison that with the Z Fold 5 in the next video. So in conclusion, my first impression, I'm really enjoying this phone a lot. And I've got my SIM in it. I'm using it as my daily driver. I am still carrying a secondary phone with me, but it's staying in my pocket because of the larger screen format on this phone. So if you receive some good information or you enjoy this video so far, be sure to smash that like button and show me some love down there. It really does help out the channel. If you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the future content, especially in the comparison between the Z Fold and the OnePlus. And I'm looking forward to the Pixel Fold 2 in comparing, because I'll tell you what, it's going to be very similar to the OnePlus Open. Same as the Z Fold 6. But as of now, I'm planning on skipping that one, because it's, other than it just being a little wider screen, just like the OnePlus Open, there's not going to be much difference between that and the Z Fold 5.